Coming up on today's Sidewalks Entertainment, he is one of the top downsizing and decluttering experts in the country. You'll remember him for the TV shows Hoarders, Legacy List, and Filthy Fortunes. Cindy Rhodes is back, and she'll bring us an interview with the one and only Matt Paxton. So stay with us as Sidewalks Entertainment begins right now.
Our guest today is a downsizing and decluttering expert. You've seen him in Hoarders, Legacy List with Matt Paxton, and Filthy Fortunes. I'd like to welcome Matt Paxton to Sidewalks. Hey,
Thanks.
Matt, it's so great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started in the sort of downsizing and decluttering as a career.
Yeah,
I'm guessing this wasn't the original plan in your life.
No. I jokingly say I failed at everything else, and this was all that was left. I mean, I was a 24-year-old kid, and I'd been an economist for the Federal Reserve, believe it or not, and then I was an economist for Caesar's Palace Casinos, and I was escorted out of both of those jobs because I was not very,
Oops.
yeah. And then I was just kind of taking some time off, and then that summer, my dad, my stepdad, and both my grandfathers, they all passed away. And bad luck. And I had to clean out all their houses. And my grandfather had always said, if something sucks, do it as a job because people will pay to do it. And after like the third house, I was like, he's right. And by the way, that's still my business plan today. 26 years later, I'm just doing the work nobody wants to do. And he was right. People will pay to do it. And so, I mean, I was just like literally, I went around the country for a year cleaning out all my grandfathers and fathers' houses. And I didn't know that I would fall in love with the stories and I would fall in love with all the stuff and all the amazing parts and seeing the country. But I got home and I was like, okay, I got to get a real job. And then all the little old ladies at church heard what I had done and they all started calling me. And honestly, my phone hasn't stopped ringing since. I mean, it's been 26 years. And I did it, I was on Hoarders, as everybody knows. I was on that TV show Hoarders for 15 years, but like I did it like by myself for like $15 an hour for 5 years before. I mean, so I was just hustling in my Saturn View car. Do you remember that? The old Saturns?
I do. My
Oh,
friend
yeah.
had one of those.
I had a ski rack that I would fill with trash. I mean, I had no money. I was dead broke, and I was just out there helping people. And it was a hustle back then. But man, I look back on it. It was awesome. I learned everything that I do now that first 5 years.
So how did the Hoarders opportunity come about? Like was that your was that your first television
Oh,
experience, or had you done television before?
had never done television before. I knew by that point I had a couple employees, and one of the employees was in film school, and he was like, "We should we were just cleaning out hoarded houses. He's like, we should put this on camera." And I knew what we were doing was special because people would hug us. Like at the end of the job, they would hug us, they would cry, they'd give us a big hug, and then they would hand us a check. And I was like, okay, this hug and a check has really become kind of my mantra ever since then. But I was like, this is special. I was like, yeah, film it. And he was putting on this new thing, YouTube, that had just come out, and they were paying people to put videos up there. And he was in film school, and so YouTube, it was the first like month YouTube was out, and he put it up there, and I got a call from a guy named Bert Clacy a few months later, and he had actually been referred me by Peter Walsh, who was kind of the main guy in our industry. Peter Walsh, still doing it today in Australia, but he didn't want to do it, and so I later found out 6 different people turned down Hoarders. They didn't want to do it, and I was the seventh choice, and I'm glad the other 6 turned it down because I mean it ended up being perfect. I watched the first episode on TV actually, and I was like, I do that,
Yeah.
and I got excited, and then I mean, by the time I remember the first day I went out, Bert Clacy, he's been an executive at all the networks, and he created my new show, Filthy Fortunes, ironically. But he literally, I was like, well, what do I do? And he goes, just be yourself, man. This is like going into the first scene. He's like, just be yourself, because if this show's a hit, you're gonna have to do it a couple times. And I mean, I was doing it because I knew that I would get a newspaper article about being on TV, and that's why I chose to do the first episode of Hoarders, because back then newspapers were everything, and
Right.
I just needed old people to read an article about me so I could clean some more houses.
Make some more money.
And I knew, I mean, in the first 10 minutes of the first scene, I was like, oh, I'm good. This is a good place for me. And so, I
Sure.
mean, we were
Sure.
doing the first scene, and I think it was a hoarder that had a school bus, and he was just, I mean, he was lost, and he was a really nice guy though. And hoarding's a tough thing because you got mental disorders and all types of things, and he just got all upset, and he's like, well, I might as well just kill myself. And I did this, and this is not something to joke about, but I go, well, do you know where the gun is? He goes, no, I have no idea where it is, man.
Whew,
And he,
thank
and he
goodness.
just gave me a big hug. He gave me a big hug, and we started. And Paul, I still talk to him to this day.
You
And he
know
gave me,
what?
and he was just like, "Oh, thanks, man." And I was like, I looked at the guys, and like, I was like, "Is this a good? Like, is this okay for TV?" And they were like, "Dude, that was amazing. You're gonna be fine."
It's got to be really hard to see people that are in such a state of sort of chaos, that they
Yeah.
find themselves in it, you know?
So so Hoarders was tough because we're putting a mental disorder on television for entertainment. Right? So
True.
you got an ethical situation there right away from the beginning. We gave them a year of therapy on every episode. So anyone that was on the show got a year of therapy paid for.
I
And so
love that.
we wouldn't do it otherwise. I mean, we don't think it's ethical otherwise. And so, yeah, it was tough, but like we started learning, like, okay, look, we got to give these people therapy. We got to give them the help. And then what you really find out is like, man, they are no different than you or me. It's just a couple other things happened. I always
Sure.
call it four or five decisions away. And ended up being, I mean, some of the hoarders I worked with, some of the most fascinating people I ever met. I mean, I met one lady, she just explained, like, she was amazing. And Lisa, I was cleaning her house out, and I kept finding the same book in different languages. And I was like,
Interesting.
why do you have the same book in different languages? And she said it just so annoyed, you know, like a wife talking to her husband, after you said the same joke 20 times. She goes, you know, sometimes poetry just sounds better in Russian. And she was so annoyed that I didn't know that too. And I was like, I go, how many languages do you speak? And she's like, 10. And I later found out this lady was in the 70s. She was a translator at the UN, and she would translate between all these different languages, like on the fly, and she would do grammar, not just like basically. I mean, she was brilliant, and I was like, oh, these hoarders are not only interesting, they're brilliant. They're a different level. And so, like, that was a job that just kept growing and growing, because every day you'd learn something new about this disorder that no one really knew anything about yet. And it was
Right.
fascinating. I mean, and then we'd be doing it on TV live, which was so
Right.
crazy.
Well, my husband and I recently had a bulk pickup, and I'm telling you, it was hard work. And it wasn't just the manual labor part, but it was the emotional connection of stuff being removed because you're always thinking, oh, I might need that, or
I needed it.
what if, like, if I get rid of it, then I never get it back. As you work with clients, how do you help them sort of break free of the hold that they're under so that they are able to let go of things?
So that what if, I mean, I've studied the what if for 25 years now, right? And so what I've really learned is we hold on to things because of the people and the memories attached to it, period. I'll say that again. We hold on to the things. I mean, every item you keep in your house, you keep because you tell yourself that, well, my kids might want it, my grandkids might want it, it might be valuable. You go through a whole line of justifications. But at the end of the day, we hold on to it because of somebody we love, right? And they're attached to it. And I get people to share the stories, believe it or not. That's the most important part, because the only way to let go of a memory is to share the story. And so I push really, really hard. Tell the stories, tell the stories, tell the stories. My whole book, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff, is about that. I had a TV show called Legacy List. And what a legacy list is a list of 5 items that matter most in your family. So, like, if your house is going to burn down, what are the 5 things you're going to keep? Right? And so, believe it or not, I push it really hard on that 5 items, because what you find is you start talking about the things that matter most. And you start talking about, well, it's my grandfather's chair. It was my dad's, cigar box. It was my mom's cookbook. You start to talk about the people that are attached to the items. And when you do that, you start to share the stories. Like, I talk about my dad every day. My dad's been dead for 26 years. That being said, when I went into my dad's garage, I was able to get rid of the National Geographic set that's wrapped in twine, because I've already told 5 stories about my dad. I was able to let go of my grandfather's boxer shorts that my grandmother kept because they were good rags, right? Because I didn't need them, and
I found a bag of that in my garage.
yeah, you know, and like I tell everybody, like we all have the Bed Bath and Beyond coupons in our junk drawer, right? We hold on to them for a reason. By the way, that store is out of business, not only expired. We save all those things because they remind us of someone that we love. And so, believe it or not, I started really changing probably 5 years ago. Instead of saying, "Oh, this house is really full of stuff," I would say, "Wow, your life was really full. You've had a lot of people that love you." And when you make that mindset switch, whoever the client is, whether it be a hoarder or your sister, whoever it is, they start to realize like you're right, and they want to share those stories. And so for me, it's all about the stories.
You mentioned your PBS TV series Legacy List with Matt Paxton. Congratulations, because that was nominated twice for an Emmy. That's amazing.
Twice. It was a tough. We were up against Oprah, Marie Kondo, and Joanna Gaines. So it was a it was a tough
Yeah,
gig.
right?
But it turns out it is an honor to be nominated. I mean, I didn't really know that I cared until I got there, and it was like, oh my god. I mean, it was a dream to be
How
nominated.
did how did this program come about?
So during the pandemic, I decided I had gotten divorced and I was a single dad all of a sudden, and I was like, all right, I can't be on the road all the time anymore. And I was like, I want to do, and Hoarders had just gotten to its limit. Like we had done it, and I was like, all right, I've done 100 episodes of Hoarders, or 110 really going to make a difference, you know. And so I decided to just stay home. And then that year, I was like, gosh, I really just love the stories. And I was like, I think I want to make a show about telling the stories. And I had, Hoarders had been nominated for an Emmy, and I just assumed everybody would line up to buy it. And I had never sold a show before, so I went out there to create a show and sell a show. I just assumed everybody. I'd already been on, 10 seasons of Hoarders, so I was like, gosh, it'll buy in a week,
Easy.
easy. And then 20 networks said no.
Oh man.
And then and so you're like, "Ah, this is weird." And then one guy goes, "Well, have you thought about public television?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Is there any money in that?" And he's like, "No." But he goes, "You'll get to tell the stories you want to tell." And so I ended up knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and we started talking to a PBS channel in Virginia. And ironically, it was the channel that I grew up watching. It all the stars aligned, and we ended up getting to make a show. And it ended up just turns out public television was the only place you could make that show because they just wanted us to share stories about the aging population in America. And it was, and they didn't even like, they just let me make this. They were like, well, what do you want to do? And I told them, they're like, okay, go for it. And we had no network notes. Like they just let us interview these fascinating people. And I met the ninth guy on the moon. I met uh, the last Tuskegee Airman. I met, I met, who was, oh, what's his name? I met Malcolm X's granddaughter. I mean, like the
Wow.
people I got to meet doing this show, it was live, real American history. It was amazing, and you could never do that on cable. So it was just a joy to be on public television, and we were so thankful for the time we had there. It was awesome.
Let's talk about your hit TV series, Filthy Fortunes. And for those that haven't seen it, what is the premise?
All right, Filthy Fortunes is not rocket science. we are finding we are finding cool stuff in hoards and we sell it. It's basically if hoarders met American pickers. That's the show, right? And it's really simple. We go in messy houses, we find really cool stuff, we sell it, and then we clean the house out. So the family still gets the house cleaned out, but we get to go 2, 3 generations back in their family. So it's a kind of a mixture of all the shows I've done before. But then there's a lot of cash at the end. And so at the end we get to hand the family a bunch of cash. And man, the stuff we're finding in these houses are just incredible.
What is the typical profile of a homeowner who seeks out your help?
Oh gosh. So we have 2 groups of people that hire us. One is grandmas ready to move into senior living, and they've been in that house for 50 years. And I mean, and that's really when you think about it that way, like how long has your grandma been in her house? Right. And when I do this class, people are like 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. It's very common for us now to a family member has either inherited that house or grandma is ready to move out. But about on Filthy Fortunes, probably half of them are people who have inherited the house and they've taken the few items they want out of it. And they're like, we don't know what's in here. Like, what's it worth? And they're like, and we need the house emptied pretty quickly. And so, I mean, it's typically, we call it oldest adult daughter. It's usually the oldest adult daughter who's 45 to 65 years old. That's who's in charge of the home. and they've inherited everything, and they've taken the few things they want, and then they just said, figure out what we could do. And we find, I mean, had a lady that day, there was a Mustang in the garage. She didn't even know if it was worth anything, like an 81 Mustang. It kind of was. It wasn't incredible. Had a lady that day call me. She goes, found my grandfather's bourbon collection. I don't think it's worth anything. And I'm gonna tell you that thing is gonna sell for a couple hundred grand. Grandpa likes good bourbon back in the 80s. You know,
Right.
oh, it's insane. I mean, there's a $100,000 bottle of whiskey in there, literally one bottle, $100,000.
What's the most valuable piece that you've uncovered thus far? Like,
It
you've
was a
probably
piece.
seen some really neat stuff, but
Yeah.
what's
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Yeah.
most valuable?
We found a Monet one time, not Monet, but Monet, a French artist, and that went for about 60 million for the family privately to a museum. It looked like a poster. You
Wow.
know, it was next to a thing I had seen. You remember the old the melted clocks, the old poster from college with Dali, Salvador Dali's melted clock.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
50, so in the 80s and 90s they would sell posters at colleges, and it was next to a poster of the melted clocks, which everybody had in their dorm room. But it didn't look like a poster. And so I texted a buddy of mine at Sotheby's, and he's like, "Well, that looks familiar." He goes, "But it was stolen from a museum in the 60s." And he's like, "Is by any chance this other one next to it?" He takes a picture, sends it to me. And this is back when text cost 25 cents, right? Like this is how long ago
Right.
this was. You had to
Yeah.
pay for
Yeah. Yeah.
text. And he spent the money to send me the text. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's sitting right next to it. Why?" And he's like, "Dude, I'll be there." And he was in Virginia and I was in Phoenix. And he's like, "I'll be there in 6 hours." And he got on the plane immediately and brought the museum that it had been stolen from. And they
Do
paid
you
for it immediately. It's
do you
fast.
find do you find like stolen stuff often when you're cleaning out people's
Sure.
properties?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
it's like,
What do you do? Like,
well,
what do you do?
I mean, sometimes you have to call the authorities. I mean, you got to think about. We've been doing this since really early 2000s, so 2001. And I mean, I used to find grandma's stash of weed. Like now that's just. But 20 years ago, is this illegal? Like
Right.
I mean,
Right. Right.
no. We found a stack of stock certificates, like actual live stock certificates, and it was worth about $2.5 million. And so that situation, we had to call the lawyer. Like, this is, I'm holding $2.5 million for this family member. And then one time we found a letter explaining that there is most likely another son in the family that no one knows anything about, and this estate is going to be
We
divided
have
by
more
three.
in just a moment.
And
Oh my.
you find some juicy stuff in these houses, and we
I
took
can
don't,
imagine.
don't share those stories on TV, on television, if it's private. But it's part of our job, man. We find really fascinating stuff, from physical to emotional to you name it. Yeah.
Well, not everyone can be featured on Filthy Fortunes, but anyone who has a need for a clean out can still get some help from your business, Clutter Cleaner. Tell us about this service and how people can connect and get some
Yeah,
help.
so Clutter Cleaner, that's exactly, we're a family run business. We're actually all over the country now, and we started opening locations in most major markets, and we come in and help you clean out your house. And so most people that are listening, they're like, "Gosh, I just inherited a house. I don't know what to do with it. I need to clear it out." And we come in, we clean it out, we help you figure out what to sell, what to donate, what to trash, and we handle all the logistics and get everything shipped, and just help you get that house emptied so you can sell it. And that's what most families hire us for. They just need to sell the house, and so we get it empty so they can do that.
What tips do you have for viewers who would like to downsize and rethink their stuff?
Start small. Start really, really, really small. Start in a space. I like the junk drawer. Honestly, that's my favorite space. It's in your kitchen. It's in the top left drawer. It's filled with
How'd
like
you know?
yeah, because that's where they always are. Yeah, that's where they always are. It's rubber bands that are going to break if you put it around some mail. It's a marble for some reason. A bunch of pens that don't work anymore, and then the Bed Bath and Beyond coupons. That's what's in those things. You can go through them pretty quickly, and it's not emotional. That's why I really like that space. And it's not really about what you get done the first day or two. It's about that you prove to yourself that you can get something done. So you want to start in a non-emotional place. Like, don't start with your grandparents, you know, wedding album. Don't start with your deceased husband's clothes. Right, you want to start somewhere really, really simple. I love old pictures that you don't really even know who they are. Like, pictures can be so overwhelming, but about 75% of the pictures in your house don't really matter. The ones that are, because it's all duplicates, it's all generic landscapes like a mountain. Do you know what mountain it is? No, it's just a mountain or a beach. But I love to start at those because you can just start pre-sorting really quick. Like I'm going to get rid of all the duplicates. I'm going to get rid of all the negatives, and I'm going to get rid of all of the generic landscapes, and I'll get rid of the pictures of people I don't know who they are. Right? I don't know who it is, or I don't like them. If you just go through those quick 4 categories on your pictures, you can get, it's 10, 20 hours worth of work. And then what it does, it's getting your muscle ready to start downsizing. So I always say it's really important to pick a small location, a non-emotional location, and do it maybe 10, 15 minutes at a time. You don't need to go 8 hours the first day. It
Right.
took you 30 years to fill the house. It's going to take longer than a holiday weekend to empty it. So take your time and enjoy it. And for me, I want you to make the space to share the stories because that's what matters, sharing the stories.
Right. I'd like to know a little bit about who you are. Where are you from originally?
Born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, the greatest town in America.
Now I know
Yeah,
you. I know
yeah,
you've got 7 kids. Oh my goodness.
seven kids.
What do the
Uh,
kids think about dad being on TV?
my kids could care less that I'm on TV. They
You
honestly,
need to get
it embarrasses them. They don't really want people to know it. They are starting out. So I got 6 boys, 11 to 16, and, and a 19-year-old girl. So this year, the 19-year-old, the 16-year-old, and the 15-year-old are all going to work on the show, and so they're excited just to come. And 19-year-old is my social media manager now, and then the other two just like working on the crew and helping people. And it's for them, they get to see the country, right? I mean, we live in Atlanta and we get to go to California for a month and we get to see the West Coast, and they just get to what I got to do in my 20s. I got to go see the world, and that's probably the best part of this is going. I mean, I think when I started Hoarders, it was a pretty debaucherous run. We all were going out and all the guys were having fun on the road. And now it's like I take my kids travel with me on the road. I mean, it's been a big 25-year switch, but I love it. I mean, it's probably my favorite part of my career now is getting to share it with my kids and seeing who's going to get involved in a family business and who's not. And in worst case, they get to have dinner on the beach in California once a month.
there
And
you
like that's
go.
just if you're not from there, man, that's cool. I mean, like they're gonna get to see Lake Tahoe this summer, man. If you've never seen Lake Tahoe, it's a most beautiful place in the country, and so they'll get to see some things. So I'm just excited for the kids to see the world.
What have you taught your children about healthy collecting and sort of managing their stuff?
So we're hardcore minimalists. We don't brag about it, but we are. I mean, to have 7 kids, you really can't have a lot of stuff, or you spend your whole time managing it. And so my kids have all been raised as minimalists, and we really the number one lesson for us is that you can't have more with less. And I'll say that again: you can have more with less. I mean, downsizing is not about getting rid of everything; it's about getting rid of the stuff that doesn't matter, so you have space for the things that do matter. And so we live very, very intentionally. I mean, I have 2 pair of pants. I have 5 shirts. That's it.
How is that possible? You're on television.
I literally, so when I go to do a show, I go buy 5 black shirts from Walmart. And then when I wrap, whatever city I wrap in, I donate them at Goodwill. Like, I mean, when we go on vacation, I buy clothes locally. I wear them while I don't bring luggage. I buy clothes locally and I donate them on the way out of town. I mean, we really do not spend money. We spend money on trips and food. We love restaurants. I mean, we're 9 people, so every night is Thanksgiving. We don't really like cooking by Thursday. I mean, we go out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night as a family because we'd rather
Yeah,
be outside talking and having fun than doing the dishes for the 4th time that day. So
right.
we're very intentional about how we live. And at the end of the day, is it something that really truly serves you? I mean, not your fantasy life, not what you think you're going to do. What do you actually do today? Is it serve your life today? Otherwise, you can rent it or you can rebuy it.
Matt, what is on your legacy list?
Oh, my dad's ring, which of course I don't have on. It's in my car. My dad's ring, he gave it to me the night he died, and I love it. It's just a great. I have my mom's cookbook. My mom, after all those men in my family passed away, my mom went and got she had a cookbook made for all the recipes from all the women in our family, and it's amazing. I mean, it's incredible, and I just love like I get to make like fast forward. So we're a blended family, obviously, and so 4 with my wife and 3 with me. And when I was the first Thanksgiving here, we're going through a cookbook that my mom made 25 years ago in my mom's handwriting. And we're making my great grandma's apricot pies. And I'm teaching my Korean born stepchildren about like my grandparents, the cowboys that raised me. And it's these items, the reason they're special is they're vehicles to the stories of the past, and that's why I love them. I mean, I just love them. And I have believe it or not, I have a piece of music from my grandfather. A lady at my church mailed it to me last year, and it's a piece of sheet music my grandfather wrote when he was 12 years old. And this lady found it, almost 100 years later, probably 90 years later. She found it buried in a drawer in her church, and she sent it in Virginia. She mailed it to me in Atlanta. And little did anyone know that little 12-year-old boy's great grandson would play the saxophone in a marching band, and he was able to transpose that music and play the music my grandfather wrote when he was 12. Right?
I
And
just got a chill when you said that.
I mean, I bawled, man. I bawled like like I was like a baby. Like, it was crazy to me. And it's just like, those are the things that matter. Because then I can tell all these stories about all these people. I connect my whole family, generations that never met. They're all connected from these few little items. And what I didn't do is fill it with Beanie Babies and Yadro collections and all these little dumb collections that we all get hooked on. We don't need those, man. You just need a couple of items that really tell your family story. And that's what, for us, it's all about. And I think I tell everybody, like, I mean, my job is to help you have memories and help you celebrate all these things. But like, at the end of the day, like, I don't want you spending the next 30 years remembering the past. I want you spending that time creating memories in the future.
I think that is really words of wisdom. Matt, thank you so much for being with us today on Sidewalks. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
I've learned a lot.
Good.
And I hope our viewers have too. Thanks so much for being with us, Matt. Take care.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
We would like to thank Matt Paxton for being our guest today. And we want to thank all of you for watching. Please visit our official website, app, and YouTube channel for more Sidewalks entertainment. For Cindy Rhodes and the rest of the Sidewalks team, I'm Richard, and we'll see you again soon.